All right. Okay. So Oscar, tell us about Port Clinton.
You know, I had time to cool off, and that's what I didn't want to talk to them on Sunday because I was really pissed. Uh, I they don't give you the, and I said this to Hannah on Sunday. They don't get you the booth assignment until 2 weeks before the show. So as soon as I get the booth image, the assignment, I email them back and say, hey, the map that you sent me doesn't show my booth like a corner, and I pay for a corner. And then they send me, no, that's not the right map. They send you a new map. You get the map, and I get a sponsor next to me, and I go like a way. If I have a sponsor next to me, that's not a corner. I pay for a corner. And last year, you put a sponsor next to me blasting music all day long, and it was really unpleasant. I don't want to go through that again. Why I walk in there on 8 o'clock at night because you cannot set up. My setup was a last flight, 7:30 at night. What I got in there, a music station right next to me. Next day in the morning, I see Kayla and I say, Kayla, you guys screw me up royally. Hopefully it's not that loud. I made a little bit of money on Saturday, made $500. When I got home, my ears were ringing and drumming and vibrating, and I couldn't. The only thing I could do was just sit down in my bed, lay on my bed, and do nothing until it done. So hopefully they will go away. So next day, I went back, but what I should have, if I would have go for my instinct, it would be to Saturday night just break the thing
Pack
down
up.
completely.
Right. Pack up.
That back up. That's what I should have. My instinct was saying to do because it's not. It was not healthy to be there. Next day, there's no practice station. They started at 10 o'clock. The music is slow, so I said, "Oh, maybe they." I texted to the 800 number they have. Please make sure that the stage music is slow. 8 o'clock, 10 o'clock starts that I can hear the generators from the food vendors that was next to me. I got a sponsors in front of me, State Farm with a big red tent, brick selling bobbleheads, and person next to them selling marijuana products. Then you got food vendors,
Were they
and
giving
all
out
of them are
free,
just,
were they giving out free samples?
I don't know. It's not my cup of tea, so I didn't check. So they have generators back there, and you can hear the generators now. So you're going like, okay, at least it's not that loud because I can hear the generators now over the music. Rose 11 o'clock in the morning, you cannot hear the generators anymore. Four generators, you cannot hear four generators. I don't care if they're silent or not, you cannot hear them. It's that loud, super loud. And I text her at 12, hey, can you load the volume in the station? It's really loud. 2 o'clock, load the volume. Then I got, and I post that on Saturday night against my better judgment. But I'm kind of glad that I did it because Didi Christian wrote something on her page, and then suddenly she's asking me, Saint Shauna, I think that she's saying Shauna to talk to me about it. And I told Shauna, I really don't, I'm in a really foul mood. I really don't want to talk to anybody. I don't want to talk to any of my friends. I just want to concentrate and sell because I need to save the show at this point. I spent $1,222 and a booth fee. It's insane amount of money because I'm doing 26 shows and I was looking at all my booth fees and none of them come close to that. One Old Town costs $750 and they give you a corner for $750 and they give you lunch, breakfast, booth sitters, water to the whole day. You know, it's not right to be doing
Hello.
that. And then after that, they come to talk to you, and I say, I don't want to say anything to you because I'm going to say the wrong thing. I'm going to say something I'm going to regret. Amy comes and say, I don't want to talk to you. But she said, I really want to talk to you about it. I'm going to regret it, Amy. I don't want to talk to you about it. Then she sent her daughter, and I finally told her, I would never do a show with you guys again because I've done everything that you asked me. I follow all your freaking rules, and I still got shit on. And not only that, this is the problem that she had constantly. She was doing that to another photographer friend of mine in the other corner. She put the sponsor in another corner doing the same thing. And I even told her, you know how the footprint to put a music stage. No matter where you put the music stage, it's going to be a problem. And to tell you that they put the music stage to bring people in, I just find that idiotic, insane, unpractical, because you're going to piss off a bunch of artists. And then you walk the show, and no offense to anybody in there, but there was barely anything in there that was impressive. You know, it's not like a show that you want to be involved with in any possible way. And yes, it's my second best show ever in my lifetime, but I would not do a show with them ever again. It's no freaking way I'm putting to myself through that.
Hey, Oscar, I saw those pictures
Yeah.
you sent me. That
Yeah.
was terrifying. That was horrible. You might as well have been 3 blocks away with a sign that said "Artist here." I mean, that was terrible. Across from that red booth with the whatever they were with selling bobbleheads. What does that have to do with anything? You know.
You know, I just going like I'm not going to argue with her. It's her business, but I don't need to be doing. I don't want to be associated with something like that. And the only reason why I did well because one of my interior designers' clients stopped by and bought a piece of one of her clients. That's the only reason why I make the kind of money I made.
Yeah, you can't count on that either.
Yeah, and I cannot count that.
Every
and
time.
The other thing that people, other artists are saying, oh, but you make a lot of money. It's like it doesn't matter. There's no guarantee I'm going to make money next year. Why am I going to put myself in the situation again?
Well, we all know I don't care that much about the money. I care about the money, but I care about the conditions more than anything. And I've been whining about conditions for 25 years, and really it hasn't done any good. Nobody cares. And actually, we were making progress before COVID. Now that since COVID, it's like it starts all over with the buy sell, with the people that they have factories that are producing stuff. It's like the same fight over and over again. The best thing that we could do is have everybody at a show boycott the show. Don't set up, stand outside the show and picket, go back and forth to make a point. I mean, that's the only thing there's nothing that's gonna do it, except that if we don't show up for the show, they don't sell popcorn and elephant ears and hot dogs, whatever overpriced pretzels, all that stuff's overpriced. And then they can go, oh, well, maybe we should listen to them. But nobody's listening to me. I mean, it would be I had artists are, they won't talk to me because I brought all these things up. They didn't want to listen to the message, so I don't even do it anymore. Hey, Ron.
Hey, how you doing?
Good.
But that's basically what, and the boat that people see me, they say, "Oh, you're being negative. You live in." So like, well, if you want to put yourself in that situation, fine, go ahead, do it. I need to think about this way. I finished a job early today. Thank God, didn't took me that long. It was 4 hours and staying working. Then I need to do another job, so I worked 5 hours today. Just thought I work 10 o'clock in the morning until 2 o'clock when I talked to you. Then I went back out and work again. And I got the same deal the rest of the week. I cannot get sick in a show because I don't think that the show income is stable enough to me to be gambling. I don't live in a cheap place, and it's nobody's fault, but I need to do what is best for me. And that show, really, that attitude, they show me like since like they're doing you a favor. I don't like that. This is not. That's not.
Well, you're doing them a favor.
It's they.
What show are
They're
we
doing the
talking
show
about?
for Clinton. You're doing a show. You're putting show for 40 years, 40 freaking years. I don't need to tell you to lower the volume. You should know that the volume is high. It's not like this is your first show directing. It's not. There was no freaking excuse. It's not Uptown Affair. It's trying to rebuild their reputation after the chaos that happened at Floyd. It's freaking insane. I couldn't. And the only thing that they did is piss me off more and more and more.
Boy, I'm really glad that somebody else is pissed off and not me.
Well, I think what you guys are saying, there's a lot of good message in what you're saying, but I agree that I don't think most artists have that. When I started doing art shows, I had this misconceived impression that artists were sort of all on the same page and all in the same boat, and we understood what was going on, but we don't. And
Well,
I think a lot of
we thought
It
they
was
did
at one
40
time.
years ago.
well,
It
and we
was.
assume that promoters across the board, all these different shows, know what they're doing. But I think most businesses in America have a hard time, and a lot of them fail. And I don't think art shows are any different. A lot of promoters don't have their mission statement, their objective is wrong, and it's flawed. And sometimes when new people take over, they go backwards. They're not on the same page. Don't you think that you've seen that in a lot of promoters, is they really don't know what they're doing?
Hey, Ron,
Yeah.
there's only been one time when the show director got passed on that it got better. Only one in 40 years. They all get worse. Every single one, and I'll back that statement up.
And which
Only
one got better?
has gotten better, and that was
Louis.
Coconut Grove.
St. Louis, when Cindy
Oh,
took
it was a quick vote.
Oh yeah, right. Yes, they turned that around in St. Louis. She turned that around, made it a premier show.
And
But with
Des Moines turned around, right? When Stephen King went there.
yeah, okay, great. I'm glad you guys are bringing that up, because I was only thinking about the ones that I did before, and then the ones that I lived through it.
Yeah, and again, going back to what we were talking about last time, what Bill Charney started and set up and brought to bear was unrivaled, I think, in our art show experience. He had a sensibility and an awareness of art and art shows and what they were supposed to be about that almost very, very, very few people, I think, have ever followed, don't you?
Hey, let me tell you something. That was the worst decision I ever made. I got invited to the first Cherry Creek and said, "Oh, 1,400 miles, a new show. I'm not going there." Everybody, I mean, everybody sold everything they brought. Everybody. It's the only show that I know of that's ever happened. And I went, "Oh, I'm not going there. First year show." Like, could I be more of a dumbass?
And I wonder how many people that had that same approach to Belleville and Artisphere. They just thought, well, they're new shows. I'll wait until I get. And actually, Howard Allen, the first time he went to Alexandria, I think a lot of people stayed back, including a lot of his followers, because they didn't think it was going to work. But it did work. It was the best show Howard ever did to date, I think.
Yeah, and that isn't his show, actually. He just curates it.
Yeah.
Did you know that?
Well, they tell you that.
But
Well, Barry, just because you made a rational decision that turned out to be wrong didn't mean that it was an irrational decision. It wasn't the dumbass thing to do.
Well, I'm saying some of this tongue in cheek. Of course, who knew that a first year show would be that great? But you flip a coin. You make a choice. You don't make a choice. You make another choice. Hey, I was wrong. There'll be plenty of times that I'm going to be wrong. Hey, we were here. Here's one thing I was thinking about this morning. And now the court's on. Oklahoma City, one of the reasons why I didn't go, I'm not going back. Besides the fact that they tried to put me in some horrific space, and I made a big stink until they moved me. With Sean's going, oh yeah, we know all about you. But anyway, it one year it really stormed. All the power lines were out in Oklahoma, Oklahoma City, and they actually didn't start the show for a few hours. And while we were there was lightning and thunder, and I went inside, and they wanted us to be outside when it was lightning, and I couldn't believe that. But is it typical? It's somewhat typical that they don't care about our health. Our health's way more important
Well,
than
their
some
tents had
stinking
metal
show.
frames, right?
What's
Their
yeah,
tents
well,
do, yes. If they set up, they're metal framed.
Yeah.
and you know what? Because of their attitude over time, they've now cut it down to four days, and they cut out that morning thing, which was useless.
Well, but see, to me, it'd be interesting to know, given that they're one of the few shows that are commission based and they have data, if they are doing that because there were so few people coming on Tuesday and Wednesday, if that's why they cut it out, or if they did it for some other reason.
I've always found, it's a 6-day show, and
Right.
they came when the weather was good. So if the weather was good on Tuesday, they came on Tuesday. It wasn't like, oh well, this day isn't any good, and they can't predict the weather when when it's going to be good or bad. I would like to think, I don't know this, but I'd like to think it was plenty of artists complained about the 6 days and they cut it down.
Well,
Either
like
that or Sean didn't want to doesn't
like
work.
they
Didn't want to
complained
work
about
6
Ann
days.
Arbor and they cut out a day.
Well,
Artists
Columbus
had a
Winter
little bit
Fair,
to do with it. From what I understand, artists had a little bit to do with it in that they simply stopped applying.
Well, that was my point. Artists are stopped replying when you have all these things happen, and it took a while. It wasn't like the next year people stopped applying. It was gradual after many years of complaining and going, oh, I'm not going to do that. I'm not going back to that. I don't like those conditions.
And that thing, that's what I think that the promoters are missing, and general and directors. It's like, if you don't make it pleasant for us, it doesn't have to be that you bring us water and food and treat us like a little babies. But if you make the situation like even to everybody, that everybody has an even shot of making money, then you can say with honest truth, it wasn't my year, it wasn't my market, it's on me.
Yeah.
When you start putting things in your head that, oh, I could have done better because if the music state was not there, I probably could have done better. Oh, I could do it better if it wasn't that hot. Oh, it rained. Okay, you can explain things, but when you start making decisions, they change.
well, I think
You
your
don't want to
point
have.
is, I think your point is well taken, Oscar. If everything is the same for all the artists in the show, then we can decide. Great. We all had good boost spots. There was no weak spot in the show. It wasn't our year. It wasn't our market. You're absolutely right.
Then it's on us.
Yeah,
That's
exactly.
on us, and that's what I want the shows to be. I don't care about anything else. Give me a chance to sell my work, and if you don't provide that, why I'm paying you money to do that? Why am I going to waste? And I know I'm a photographer, and I'm going to go home and just press a button, like the joke keeps going. But you know what?
Hey, that was a joke.
Well, it's better
Yeah, I
than
know.
taking pictures out of a Costco's bag behind your booth.
Yeah. But going
Really?
to travel 2 days to a show, set up the show, which is another day, do the show, travel 2 days to the show, because now you're losing 6 days. It's not just the time in the show.
That's right.
And that's the thing that people are missing. And that's like should I go to the show? Should I not go to the show? Should I put myself through the hell or not? And then comes to the fact that things in this day cost so much money that hotels are out of hand, gas is out of hand, and all that you have to start adding up all those things before you do a freaking show. It's not like a, and then the sales are not like a. I told a friend how much I made in the show, and they say to me, "Oh, that's a really good show," and I say, "No, that's what it's supposed to be. An ego show should be producing. An ego show is the top shows, and you should be able to make that kind of money when not thinking about it. You know, if you don't make it, that's not your market. But those are the shows that you should be able to make good money with no too much effort. You know, and no going through that. In theory, I'm saying, but because they're hidden gems that you make a lot of money and you pay less money and there's nothing that's special, but they don't make your life miserable at the show. So
Hey, weren't we talking about once we brought up the UPS drivers, how much they made? Was that here?
Yeah.
Okay, I talked to a guy today. They actually make 175,000 a year. That's what they get to show you. And I only bring that up not because they make that kind of money, but because we've just lagged way behind over the years in terms of increased income.
That's because
we don't-
artists are afraid to raise their prices.
Yes.
yeah,
And potters are even more afraid than their idea is to panic and lower their prices.
yeah. It should
I
be the
think that
opposite.
all crafts artists, at least the ones I see, that they're selling, hats for $5. It costs them $4 to make.
No, it costs them $4 for the materials,
Yeah.
and it actually costs them $100 to make it. So they're losing $100 on each one. That is actually the reality.
And unfortunately, doing that,
Wait.
doing that trains the public that we're not going to raise our
That's
prices,
right.
and that we will lower our prices. And if they want to try to negotiate with us, we'll always come down. And so a lot of this we bring on ourselves because.
Well, I had a friend who went to an art show with me and he tried to negotiate with one of the artists, and the artist said, well, for you, the price is this, but for you, it will be higher.
Yeah.
Right, twice as much.
So when they ask me, what's your best price? I say, well, my best price is twice this,
Yeah, you can't afford my best price.
but you can have it for this,
Yeah.
How about you, Katie? You're in that kind of a different market than we are.
Well, like I said, my competition is selling a hat for $5, $10 maybe. And, mine are 30. And people are going, why is yours so much? I said,
Well,
I charge
because you
way.
tell them because you actually make yours.
Well, no, they're making theirs, but.
Are you sure?
Yeah, the people that I know that are doing it, but they're making it. I mean, they go to the thrift stores and find yarn on sale, or they shop the sales, but they're still
Sweatshops.
making, maybe 25 cents an hour.
Right, sweatshops.
You got to
Yeah,
tell them it's
I mean,
worth
they're
it.
doing it to
Yours is worth
themselves.
it.
But I said, I'm charging minimum wage.
Yeah, that's right. $30, that's nothing. I did a show where the hats were going for 150 and $200 and $300, and they were
Yeah.
selling them like nobody had ever seen a hat before.
Yeah, what you need to tell them is at the end of the show, you buy all the hats they have left over and sell them for $30 next week.
Well,
Well, Lucia, your guys' belief that when a promoter asks on an application what your price points are, do you think that ever comes into play in terms of who they let in or don't?
No.
It shouldn't.
Why do they ask?
I don't mind that they ask that. That's a business thing. They're letting you know that they want all price points. That's fine.
I mean,
Well, on the other
when I
hand, if you're in a prestige show, you probably want people not to be selling too cheaply because it
that's
would
right.
undercut the other artists.
Yeah. When I upload images for artists, I always put the number 1 in all the required fields. And 90% of the artists never change that. So they sell everything for $1 on their application. I'm serious.
Really?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And
And nobody sees
nobody
it.
pays attention to it.
Although,
It's not
well,
to try to eliminate buy sell in any way. That's just a ridiculously worthless question.
Yeah,
Yeah.
the eliminate buy sell is the video. Show us a video of you making something or pictures of you in your studio.
oh yeah, like you couldn't set that up.
Right.
Or my favorite is you have a painter there and they're painting in their booth. You know, and if you watch them, they're putting in a few strokes in each thing. They're not
Well,
paint, you know, who
it's paint
that's
by-
ridiculous.
It's
You're
paint
there to
by
sell.
number.
You're not there to paint your booth. The only people that are painting in their booths are the ones that are up to some nefarious thing. That's whether that's true or not, I don't know, but that's my feeling.
Howard Allen told me about a lady that was selling paintings that she was buying. And he forced her to learn how to paint. And at the next show, she had to actually set up an easel and paint and do a painting for him in the same style.
And did she
And
succeed?
she learned how to paint really fast.
Well, what about the guy that here in the Midwest that does the embroidery, and he's always working on the same exact piece at every show? He'll
Yeah.
put like two or three, he'll get it out and put like 2 or 3 stitches in the same
Yeah.
piece at every show. And
Yeah.
he wins awards.
We want that. I was going to say that, and they give him the awards, and I'm not going to bring up his name, but we all know who it is.
I don't. What is it?
Now, I like the guy that I was next to one year in, I think the first year I did Prairie Village. He literally had 3 easels set up behind his booth, and he had small canvases like 8 by 10 or so on each easel. And he was going to a show somewhere, and he knew somebody that lived there, and they'd sent him a couple of really bad scenic snapshots, and he was just painting from them. You know, he'd get one color out and paint across all, you know, he'd paint the same thing on all 3 easels.
And was there something wrong with that?
Well, you know, photography is not an original art form. You know, we don't do originals.
Actually,
I can sit there and, you know, set up 3 easels and paint the same picture on each one. That's okay.
That's production painting. My mother was looking into like selling what she does, but she saw this guy. He had about 10 easels set up, and he had a house painting brush, and he went through with blue paint and did the sky on all of them. Then he went through the paint with the mountains in purple and then brown, and then he put some trees in, and it was all real quick drying, I think acrylics or something.
Right, and he probably taught classes during the week.
I don't know. He signed them all with different names, but
well, yeah.
Yeah, there was a movie with Daryl Hannah from the 80s. And the introduction part of it was they were going through this factory where they were doing assembly line painting in
that's what this
Chinatown
was.
at the beginning of the movie.
Arthur, you know the movie Arthur?
Yeah,
With
Dudley Moore.
Dudley Moore in it, and there was they went to an art opening, and John Gielgud, was standing next to the painter, and the painter said, "Oh, I did this painting in 20 minutes or something," and John Gielgud deadpan something like, "Oh yeah, I believe it," but in a really deadpan or something like that, like meaning,
It
yeah,
looks like it.
it looks like it. But being very sarcastic. It was great. It was a great line.
So now I'm getting ready for Lake Forest.
What are you
And,
doing?
Lake Forest next weekend.
Is that another Amy
Amy
Amder
show?
show?
Hell no.
Hey, hey, listen, Larry knows this, but I actually got images from Larry, and I was really proud of them. I thought they were really great. I thought it was like another level above what I had. and I used the 3 to send to Howard Allen and for St. Armand's Circle, and I set it a month in advance, which means they do it, or they used to do it in order, like of when they got the
rolling jury.
application. So it should be an automatic in, and they put me on the wait list, with Larry. With Larry's the first time I used it at a show, and they put me on the wait list. So there's a little concern there.
Do you think it's because
Oh,
they didn't
Larry's
recognize
fault.
the images? Because they were new?
No, they knew
No.
who it was. Like I've never done a Howard Allen show. Come on, and that show.
Does Howard juries or have the same people jury the show all the time?
Well, it's his group, and it's not. I don't think he's not involved in any of that anymore. I don't know that for a fact, but I believe that he's not involved.
Do you think that happens with other shows, that if they get used to seeing the same images, that if
Depends
pages
on the
change?
jurors.
Pardon?
It depends on the jurors.
That if they don't recognize it, even if you've been in 8 years in a row, you could get juried out because they don't recognize the
Trust
new
me,
images?
There was,
they knew whose work it was.
yeah, there used to be a juror, his name was Jerry Gilmore. And he was a museum curator from Minneapolis. And he was on the jury for like Cherry Creek, St. Louis, Columbus, all the top shows over a couple of years. And he used to talk about how he loved it when he saw the same, he recognized the artist's work immediately. And he loved to see that they've improved. So in a case like that, he was rejecting. If they were sending the same images year after year, they were going to get rejected with him.
Funny thing is, when I was sending in the same images year after year, I got
You
in.
got in.
I finally have new images now, and I'm worried. Well, actually, the only one I'm really worried about is Coconut Grove.
But that's the one that everybody's worried about, because that's the show for me,
Yeah, but
Assuming that-
you have to be an NAIA member and kiss ass to the board to get into Coconut Grove. Didn't you know that?
No.
Oh, really? I didn't know that.
Really?
Oh,
So,
my God.
Ford, I'm not kissing your ass.
so screwed.
Only if you're a
I'm
jeweler.
so screwed.
I mean, that's what MG said you had to do.
MG.
Yeah, jeweler.
You're talking about Mark?
Yeah.
again?
Oh, MG. Oh.
Yeah.
Oh, come on.
Yeah,
Actually, that would actually might work in my favor. It's the strangers. It's the one you don't know. I don't know.
Well,
Well,
it
Well,
looks
that was
like
like,
that board is about ready to be wiped clean, so.
Hey, Barry, you'll have a chance to talk to Camille.
Camille. Yeah, I know.
Yeah, my mock jury is the day before her regular jury.
I know that. I know that. Hey, I communicate with her anyway, I
so
like
when is
Camille.
your next
She's
Mark
great.
jury?
What?
When is your next-
September 26th.
Okay.
Yeah, I'm gonna put
I
my
just put the
images in there. I'm gonna put my Larry Berman images in there, and we'll see what happens.
I'm going to send you 2 applications, Larry.
Okay.
Hey, I know exactly what you're gonna do, Oscar. That's
He
What?
likes to test his.
no, I don't want to say in case this is recorded. Somebody might read it. It might mess, but I know what I know. I know your 2 sets of images. That'll be great.
I don't know if you're going to be able to tell. I think that Larry might know.
Well, I won't be able to tell. The second images, because you've only showed them once somewhere. I mean, online. So
No, online.
those images, your pre
Jury.
metal color on metal images.
Oh, you're not going to send the black and white, right?
Yeah, I'm going to send you the black and whites and then the color ones.
Yeah, that's what I'm
set.
saying.
Right.
The
They all look like a
socially
black and white, really.
responsible ones, the ones where you're making a kind of statement, and then the ones that you do now, the ones to match the drapes and the carpeting.
Oh, come on. It's not like
No, they're actually really nice. And you know, I've said that. They look great in somebody's house. They're spectacular. If you can get them in the house on, you know, on the wall, it's like it's not coming down.
Most of the time.
Unless you're in
So-
Florida and the whole house comes down.
Unless it's in the wrong place, you know.
Yeah,
Oh,
they
well,
can
you
get
know,
another
it's
The whole
not-
hurricane.
house blows away.
Yeah.
And
Yeah,
that's
but
going to
this
be
year the hurricane-
interesting. You know, I'm really glad the applications are due like for all the Florida shows in a month from now, because
Oh, it's too late. I
we're
really
going to see
said
what
no
happens
mine.
this first iteration of hurricanes.
Well, I already
Well-
sent my application, so
When's Coconut Grove
working-
deadline?
I think next month, the
Yeah, they're all
22nd, I
next
think.
month.
Well, the
I did send
jury
that
is
one in.
27th.
I sent that
Yeah.
one in.
Yeah.
I already sent Coconut Grove and all my Florida's applications are out, and I need to send just the Texas one now, and our spheres, and that's it.
I think the first
Yeah,
one is I mean the one that's next is Fort Myers. That one's
Closing
coming
or
in
closing
order
date?
that, huh?
the closing date?
Yeah, the last time you can send it.
Oh, okay, because
think the-
Coconut Grove always was the first Florida show to close. They used to close September 1st.
September 4 is Bonita one, which is basically the best one of the Bonita shows. In theory.
Too
And from
early.
there on, but the second one, the problem that this is what people overlook. The second one now goes with Super Bowl, and that's why Sunday is always weak in the area on Sunday. So
Yeah.
if I was to
That
to
show
see
was
one show-
underwhelming.
yeah,
And here's the
So-
thing, a totally new committee. It isn't Barry Witt anymore and his crew. It's a totally different group that runs it.
yeah,
And
they're nice ladies. Don't get me wrong.
yeah,
they're
but
really nice.
they didn't impress me at all.
You know, it's the first year. They will get it better. I think.
Maybe.
You know, I don't think that they are that horrible. I think that it's more though like a Paragon put a show the same weekend of the show number 2. Hey, why you biting me?
You're not paying attention, that's why.
He
You're
was
going
petting
her. Sorry. No, they put Paragon put a show the same weekend that Bonita too, and I think that maybe took a little bit off, but it's a
No.
totally different market for those, so I don't know. I
No,
don't
you
know.
know what? I had people saying, I really want to buy something, but I don't have a house to put it in, and they're waiting for their their insurance money, and I think they're still waiting for their insurance money. It's really slow now. Different world.
They should
They'll
have
take
it
your
right now.
money, but they won't, over the years, the insurance company will take your money, but when they actually have to use it, they're very slow in taking care of
Why
things.
they're no longer operating in Florida or California.
Yeah, well, they're leaving.
Yeah. They've
I want
left.
my money back. How about that? If you're going to leave, give me all the money back I spent for the last 20 years to insure, I mean, that's criminal to me.
Well, I mean, the governor's letting get away with it.
There's so much crap that happens here now. It's really tragic. I don't like the way it is. Hey, does anybody think that a president can rule from prison, a jail cell?
I hope not.
It can
To show you-
happen.
He's still got a huge, he's going to get like millions and millions of votes if he runs.
Here's what I hope happens. I hope he gets convicted. Then he'll appeal, so he'll be out until his appeal's dealt with.
Yeah, that's true.
Meantime, I hope
But wait a
He
second.
gets just in the biggest landslide ever. He loses by the biggest landslide ever in American politics.
Yeah, but wait a second. If he gets
Then
convicted,
goes to jail.
if he gets convicted of aiding a resurrection, what do you call it?
Insurrection.
Correction.
I
He's
mean,
not going to jail.
he's
he's not-
ineligible to be president or run for
He's
any.
not
public
going to
office
prison.
again.
He's not going.
Well, Larry, number one, he's already ineligible to run, but nobody will force the issue. And then it would go to the Supreme Court, who's probably not going to back it up. And two, he's not being charged with anything on a federal level that would prevent him from being
He's running.
elected.
He's running, and he's going to get the votes.
None of the
And you know
none
what?
of the charges, none of the January 6th charges would prevent him from being president if he was convicted.
Yeah. You know, I don't watch much television, but the Republican Party's already like coming, you know, like they have ads that are real false and really negative about Biden. You know, if you actually didn't see anything but only saw the Republican ads, you'd think Biden was a senile old guy sitting in a wheelchair, mumbling to himself and drooling. I mean, that's how they portray him.
Given that Trump lost to Hillary Clinton, a popular vote by 3 million votes, and he lost to Biden by 7 to 8 million votes, his only hope is to win the Electoral College, which he and do you think that he can without cheating himself?
Yes.
How?
I think all those states are still going to vote for him. Iowa, you think Iowa's going to vote Democratic? No.
You think Michigan's going to stay Republican? I don't.
No.
I don't think Pennsylvania will either.
But it's not a
Georgia.
foregone conclusion that Michigan's going to go Democratic, although it boggles my mind.
You know, and he can't win, I don't think, without Michigan, Pennsylvania, Georgia. He needs those states.
In Arizona.
Yeah.
Well, I couldn't watch the debates or the first Republican debate. It would just drive me crazy. But I did, you know, afterwards I'm looking, and what a bunch of jokers. When Chris Christie is the only reasonable person on stage,
Right.
that's a problem.
Yeah.
I actually like him now.
Yeah, he speaks well.
He does, and he's
They would-
reasonable.
There's one or two states that in their state constitution, they divide their electoral college votes.
Yeah.
And I wish all states did that.
Yeah, no. It's all or nothing.
I just think that they should eliminate the Electoral College and just vote
Well,
straight.
California and a couple other states now have a rule that their electors have to follow whatever is the popular vote nationwide. So,
Right, the California electors have to vote based on what happens in New York and New Jersey and
everything, yeah, the whole country, you know, the popular vote, that's how the electors have to vote.
That no sounds.
that's unconstitutional.
That doesn't.
Yeah, that's exactly.
A couple others that are doing it too now. Or
That's
have-
an abuse of the voters of California.
Not really, because, you know, actually what they want to do is get rid of the electoral college, but this is a way around it.
Well,
Like I said, I think they ought to just split the votes. You know,
Yeah.
in
that
Kan-
is constitutional and that would be reasonable.
Yeah, we
in
have the real
Kansas,
electors
we have
and the
4
Trump
votes.
electors.
You know, split them. Not that Kansas is going to make a difference in one way or the other with 4 votes.
Well, California has like 50 something, 58, I think was the last time, but we can't
Oh.
have more. And the way things work out, people like in Kansas have a vote worth 4 times or 5 times as much as a person in California, just because we can't have any more electors than that, even though the population would allow for it.
Got a question. Did anybody heard anything about High Desert, how it went?
Oh, Art in the High Desert. Who did it?
A lot of people.
Yeah, but
Uh,
not,
Karen?
not
I know
here.
who did it. Didn't
Allison,
Allison do it?
Allison
Yeah,
said her
but
sales were okay. I asked her this morning. She just said her sales were okay.
Wonder what Karen Gilbard says.
did she do it?
yeah,
thought-
she's in the community.
Sticking
Yeah.
more on post.
Yeah, she posted a picture of her booth at the show.
But I'm going to say if everybody just did okay, considering the show is just coming back and a new location, that's not a bad start for the show.
No, and I think David did a really good job putting it together.
Yeah, that's what I said. Like if everybody walk out of there just okay, it's they started in my opinion, they started in the right track. They can only go up from here. So I hope, that's my best hope for the
Right.
show.
Right.
Allison said she didn't know about anybody else.
But she Allison doesn't get into that part with other artists. When she goes to do the show, she just concentrates on her booth.
Oh.
It doesn't worry about anybody else, just herself. Which is
So
what we
I'm
should
hoping a
all
lot
should
of
be
people
doing.
do. I'm hoping a black and white 2D artist does really well so I can get a shot at St. Louis.
Yeah, they still haven't called you, Court.
Nope.
Yeah, can you hear me?
I'm almost hoping that they don't call me because I don't think I'm going to be ready to do it. That'd be a
Well,
dilemma.
if they call you, you can always say no. Sorry, I cannot do it.
If they call me, there's no way I'm saying no.
But you said that you're not going to be prepared, so why are you going to do it if you're not prepared?
Hey,
I don't know.
I just called Karen and she's gonna join this meeting. So we could ask her about Art in the High Desert.
So
Okay.
where's that? Is that you think Allison is driving home?
No, Allison's
No,
in Oregon.
Oregon. She's going to Outer in the Pearl next.
She's doing Art in the Pearl. Then she's driving home and flying to St. Louis.
I hope to do the same that my hope next year is to do
And
the
here
same thing that
she
she did
is.
this year.
Okay, Karen. Inquiring minds want to know.
Nice to see you, Karen.
Put me on the spot, right?
No, it's a casual group. Just
Okay. All right. So just to be open with you, I am on the board for Art in the High Desert. And I'm delighted to be on it. It's an exciting experience and it's a new experience for me to be on the other side. So we held it at the Deschutes County Fairgrounds called the Expo Center, which is a beautiful setting for us. And it was ideal because there were like 2 paved rings around the area with this grass parkland in the middle with a creek and trees that was just delightful. There was already access to electricity for our booths. We could drive on those paths and we could also drive on the grass. There were real bathrooms. And there was tons of parking. There must have been 4 parking lots for the center, in addition to a whole lot for RV parking. So some of the artists stayed in the RV parking, which is right there. Perfect. I stayed in a motel that was 3 minutes away that just happened to have a fantastic Mexican restaurant, like within walking distance, that made wonderful margaritas. So that was kind of a bonus. Going into Art in the High Desert, we had 100 and believe it was 139 artists. We had 1 or 2 few people who had emergencies they had to cancel. We understand all that. And we have a way to deal with it. But going over there, I live 3.5 hours from where we had the art fair. I live on the coast. I am going to Redmond, Oregon, which is in the high desert. We are in a fire season. Canada is having fires. The hotel I was staying in had every fire captain there was from 6 different states staying at the same hotel, coordinating the fires throughout the Northwest. I felt like I was in the right hotel, but I also knew that driving over, we had to drive through thick smoke as we're gaining altitude and going up to the mountains. And there was some anxiety about how are we going to do this? This is, not good. I went over on Tuesday, and the artist arrived on Thursday. So we had a couple days for the weather to change, and we got really lucky because it did. And it cleared enough that it wasn't an issue. But fires right now, fire season in August, it's a reality. It is a serious issue. But we did get lucky. Even right until Sunday, when everybody's loading out, the smoke waited until we were leaving before it came back. And certainly my thoughts are with those people who are actually in the middle of those fires trying to deal with it. That's hard stuff. But we had outstanding artists. We have had people who have come to the show from its original location saying how glad that we were back. They absolutely felt it was a top-notch show, which it was. Absolutely was. The quality artwork was great. Some people did well. Not everybody did. It was a little hard for me because the temperatures on Sunday at load outlet were 94 degrees at 4,000 altitude. That's a little hard on me personally. And since I do wearables, it is a tough sell when it's that hot. I was aware of that, and I have some strategies to keep customers cool in the booth, including fans. But it was just, it's a mindset when it's that the temperatures are that high. But I do know that there are people around me who stayed an extra day to install the artwork that was sold. Sometimes it was at the last minute that the sale happened. So we felt pretty good. We did, it was a hard job laying out this site for all the artists. It wasn't straight rows. We had a circular pattern that meandered sort of with paralleling the stream, if you will. Some of the booth spots with the shade and the stream were just like a little oasis of heaven. It was a pleasure to be there. We did a tremendous amount of advertising. We had a decent turnout of volunteers. And during the show, I had several people come up and say, "Oh, we're so glad you're back. Our whole coffee group would like to be volunteers next year." Or the local art association says, "We want to connect with you. We want to be here to help as volunteers." And these are really positive steps because each of those steps allows us to connect with their community. So our show becomes their show. And that does take time. And that also helps build the audience that will come. So what else you want to know?
So how would you grade David's job?
He took on the responsibility very seriously. I think at times it was stressful trying to balance being a working artist and an art fair director. It's new for each of us, and you have to learn on the fly. Very thorough, well-spoken. It takes practice to get it all right, but I think we did a pretty good job.
From what you said and other comments I've heard, I think he hit a home run.
Oh, absolutely.
Running. And you know what? That is the case for having artists run the shows. All the things you said, the parking, the access to the booths, the really good booth spaces, the limited amount of artists, or not limited, but less artists, the quality, everything you talked about is that's
and we had real bathrooms.
And oh, that's right, real bathrooms.
Real
Yes.
bathrooms,
Yeah, I knew there was more to it than what you said, the real bath. Hey, that's a big deal, you know?
That's a big deal to us, right? Yes. I also like the fact that this kind of site is designed for handicap access. That's a little bit important to me as I'm getting older. We did have 2 food carts, and then 1 cart that was selling beverages that included beer and alcohol. So I would like to see a wider variety of food carts, but since we were new to the expo center, they weren't sure how big the crowds would be, but all that I think just comes with time. It was fine, but we'd love to see more choice or ice cream or something.
How big was the cart, the crowd count?
I don't have those numbers. I don't know how to determine that.
Okay, subjectively compared to a few years ago, how did it feel?
It was lighter than our last year or before the pandemic, definitely. But the people who came, they were our customers. They
Yeah.
weren't just people who happened to be going to the Old Mill Shopping District and then saw the art fair.
Yeah. Quality over
and-
quantity.
And so these were our customers from mailing lists. One of the things, because I was asking people, how'd you hear about the show? And the most frequent response was that we had put what they call a dropout colored flyer for the show in the local newspapers
Really?
for
That's cool.
like 5 area towns. And that was what I heard the most response from. Not everybody watched the local TV, but we had 15-second spots on those channels about art, promoting art in the high desert. We had a billboard, with art in the high desert. And that was many thanks to one of our board members who was in graphic design and signs, that he was able to swing that. It was awesome that we could actually have a billboard on the highway. Yeah, so we did a lot of things right, and there's still more to do because we want it to be successful and exciting as far as income for all of us, for all the effort that we've gone to. And I would like to have said that, yes, I just spent the past year working on this show and I've just made buckets of money. It didn't quite work out that way for me, but it did for several people there. So again, experience, quality, but it's still a first year show in a new location. And we're thinking about what we want to do to make it even better.
Will you
Take
be able
that
to keep
formula
that
on the road.
location?
You got 2 questions. Give me 1 question.
Go ahead.
Will you oh, Larry,
Well, I said you should take that formula on the road. There are a lot of places that would benefit from a show of that quality.
They're not going to listen.
Well, Larry, the other thing that's happening in the Pacific Northwest is, we like to have an itinerary, a travel itinerary of shows. And in the past, we would, there was the Bellevue Art Museum show. There was the Salem Art Festival. There was Art in the Pearl in Portland and Art in the High Desert. And yeah. And so you could make a plan if you were coming from other places, which shows you wanted to go, which show is going to be the one in between, the B level or C level show until the following weekend. And unfortunately, what's happened is the management of 2 of those shows that I'm aware of has changed and the quality has just absolutely plummeted.
Mm-hmm.
So people who used to, plan on being at the Bellevue Art Museum show, and by the way, maybe they'll do the Salem Art Fair before that one, they're not doing it now. They wouldn't even think of doing it now because the quality of the show has just dropped. If you were local and in the area, it might be worth doing, but driving across the country, not necessarily. So right now we are left with Art in the Pearl and Art in the High Desert as 2 very good quality shows. Art in the Pearl has some challenges because of downtown Portland. I'm going this week, so I'm going to, find out firsthand if people will
But
come
you-
downtown.
Please let me know how it goes, because the only reason I'm doing Art in the Pro because that was the only show that I got in from the swing. So I didn't want to drive just for that show.
I understand. You needed to come
Yeah.
so that there was more than one. And
You know-
so it's almost like if enough of the artists could, this is big picture, this is big daydream stuff. If we're going to continue to use art fairs as a model for selling our work, we need to help those art fairs that are struggling, that used to be great. We need to help them come back with quality shows. And maybe it won't. Maybe the customer demographics have changed.
I think the director demographics have changed. They don't care. They
No,
want to
it
do
seems
it
like-
their way. You know,
It seems
I
like
was-
there are more people who are hiring event people to lay out the
Yeah.
show, get the artists in, get the artists out. They don't care about the art part, I think, the same ways. They don't care that I've got, soap booth behind me and I'm selling $3,000 coats.
I've been talking about this, that they know how to put on an event, the mechanics of it, but they have no idea what we need, what we want,
Right.
or the fact
No.
that we're the reason why they're there.
Right.
It isn't just, well, let's use you and then we'll sell them all this other stuff and we'll
Yeah.
get a cut, all that.
The Salem Art Fair has hired for 2 years in a row a music festival director to put their event on. And yes, they had to move the location out into an open field instead of under the trees, so it's really hot. It's too far for people to walk. He didn't advertise the artist the first year. All he did was promote the music, and they charge at the gate in a town where most people are working some kind of government job because it's the capital. And families just couldn't afford to come in and pay $10 each day. They also at the Salem Art Fair wouldn't let you bring in any liquids. So a mother with 2 toddlers and a baby in a stroller with apple juice and water and baby formula was asked to dump out all of the liquids before coming into the fairground. Well,
Really?
that's not good.
I'd turn around and leave and give him the finger as I'm leaving.
Absolutely.
It's ridiculous.
It's like he was treating it like it was a rock festival. Where people might come in with their own alcohol. So, it just doesn't feel good to me at all. So
No.
I'm not, being on the board requires a lot of time, a lot of administrative duties, a lot of conversations, a lot of trying to build relationships with communities, a lot less time in my studio. But my heart is in the place that if we want to continue, we're going to have to get organized and bring back the quality of the shows.
Are you going to be able to stay in that same location?
Supposedly. Sorry,
Hey,
that was a spam call.
Hey, Karen,
Mhm.
the way to do it is to pay the people that are running it money to make up for the time for the time put in. And how do you do that? The only way to do that is to get sponsors that'll underwrite. Underwrite is the key word.
Barry, we now have the first year data so that we can write the grants for sponsors.
Yeah. And I'm not, and I'm not talking about you
but
guys.
You're absolutely right, is that
Yeah.
we would like to have the director paid position. And wouldn't it be great for all the other things that we do that, it probably means hiring somebody who would have those skills. But we are happy to say that after this experience this year, we have enough data that we can start to write those grants. And we have a board member who has some experience with that. And that's what we're going to be talking about probably the end of September and October.
Mhm. Yeah, a show like St. Louis, they turn away sponsors. They turn on.
They do
No,
now.
they do.
Yeah.
They turn away people that
Oh,
want
I think about St. Louis all the time because they have strong committees in each of the areas that need committees, volunteers, volunteer activities, kids activities, Sponsors, yes, they are well organized. And I'm envious because right now we just have, our board trying to shoulder those responsibilities. But we did a really great job. We got really good feedback. Were there artists that complained? Yes, there's always going to be someone to complain. Someone said, well, why weren't you inside? Like in one of the facility is not your typical fairground. The buildings are remarkable and the place is huge. So somebody says, well, why aren't you inside? Well, if we were inside, they probably said it's a beautiful day outside. Why aren't you outside? And so you can't please everybody. But we looked great. We really did. We had top-notch people there, and it was wonderful. The same things, I think, well, even with artists, you want artists that are experienced to know what you need to do. So you go around with the checklist. Do you have your artist statement? Do you have your weights? Is this the work that you juried in with? You still have to do those kind of compliance things. But the thing that also gets recorded is attitude, is that, are these people who are hard to deal with just even with load in? The minute they get there, they're grouchy. Or are these the people who are going to be ready to help their fellow artist if they have to jump their van or something? Those things are important, is how we are as professionals with our fellow artists. We want the people who are great to come back. If you're grouchy, don't even bother to apply.
Did they do a monitor or projection jury?
It was by Zoom.
Okay.
And I wasn't part of it. So we did have good instructions to the jurors. We had a very diverse jury panel. There are a couple things I want to do for education about some of the categories. And my personal area in textiles is I feel I want to kind of do a mini workshop for the either jurors or the art fair director so that we get it right with the textiles. Oh, and the high point, of course, of the show is that we award something called a benchmark award. There's no money associated with it, but you are invited back the next year. And a benchmark award is drawn from the surveyor's world, where the benchmark is the point from which all else can be measured. And that is the awesomeness, I think, of this particular concept, is that we chose 5 artists who represented the best of our group in their attitude, their professionalism, and willingness to be an artist at Art in the High Desert. It was a real joy to choose and then distribute those awards. We also gave an award to the original founders of the show, which would be Carla and Dave Fox. And we're starting something called the Founders Award in addition to the Benchmark Award for the artists. And that award will help honor those people who have made an artistic, cultural.
Did Carla do the show?
Yeah, she did. Yep. She's on the board this year. I think she was there to kind of help us learn the ropes. And Dave was there too. It was really sweet to be able to honor them. So anyway, Art in the Pearls in a few days. And after that, I have to do the Cannonball Run to St. Louis. I'm part of the Emerging Arts panel, artist panel, and they asked me to come, which means I have to drive like hell for 3 days, 3 10-hour days to get there in time to be able to present. It's a really big push for me right now because it seems like the 4 shows are coming back to back. And because I think a lot of the shows are hot, the crowds aren't coming out quite as much as I'd like. If the temperature would drop even 10 degrees, it'd be a lot better.
Yeah.
So I will continue to work on my website and selling through my website. I have been trying very hard to figure out how to manage an online inventory and art fairs at the same time, living in fear that I'm gonna sell the one piece twice. And then I won't be able, yeah, that would be a mess. So I've been trying to do barcodes on my inventory, which has taken hours of my time. And I still don't have it quite right. I'm still working on it. But in theory, with the barcode on my hang tags, I use my camera to scan the barcode, which will then take it directly off of the website. And wouldn't that be sweet? I wouldn't have to worry about it.
Hey, my fear is that, you sell different pieces to two different people and they want you to ship them and you get home and you go, even though I write it down meticulously,
Which
all
one
this,
was it?
it goes away and I'm going, oh no, which one goes to who? And you don't want to call them because you look like an idiot. So I've never gotten it wrong, but I've come close to sending the wrong piece to the wrong person.
One thing you can do, Barry, is you take a picture of the person holding the piece.
Yes, yes. That's what the phone is for. You think I do
Yes.
that? No,
Yeah,
but that's
no.
a great, I think about it afterwards when I get home. Why did I do that? That's so simple.
Yeah, when I used to
Yeah.
shoot multiple booth pictures at a show, I'd have to make sure I take a picture of the booth with the artist's name in it,
Right.
so I'd
Yeah.
know whose booth it was.
Yeah. Yeah. It was a tremendous group of artists. It really was the cream of the crop. And I'm so honored that they made the effort to come. They understood what we're trying to do and they were supportive. Yeah, that feels so good. We are a tribe, we are a community.
Yeah, I'd like to go, but it's so far away.
Mm-hmm.
You know?
So the other topic that it comes up after the first margarita is there another way to represent what we're doing here? Is there a way to go live even with a Zoom or whatever? By the way, we also had tremendous Wi-Fi, so that worked very well too. That was I was a little concerned we'd be out there and not have enough cell tower strength, but we did. But is there another way to get people involved with the art fairs, even if they're far away or can't attend? And I think
Well,
it's going to be technology.
Karen,
Yeah,
I
it'd be
had
like-
a client who was running an antique show, or a couple of antique shows or collectible shows, who put on a couple successful Zoom shows during the pandemic. I would be glad to put you in touch with him.
Something that might be really cool is
Mhm.
that is
Thank you for-
like at a show, have a camera and go into people's booths and have it live on the internet so that if somebody
Yes.
in New York could buy something in Oregon or
Yes.
wherever,
Yes. That's going to take a whole nother group to be a part of that, with the connection, with the camera.
Right.
And it could be that we just even offer one or two pieces, but have the interviews go live.
Right.
I don't know.
Oh yeah. The
There's
interviews.
something about that.
I'd love that. I'd love to be interviewed and have it go across the country.
So I'd love to tell people about this. I made a coat that I called Art in the High Desert, which was both the palette of the coat and I did my border that I've done on my big ruffled edge coats. But this time I stitched in mountain silhouettes of mountains in the hem. And, it's just like that coat, there's a whole story behind it. And somebody might have been interested to know it and would have said, that's the coat I need to have.
So how do you deal with, Karen? Obviously your work is fairly bright, colorful, but there's a group of artists like myself whose work doesn't translate digitally.
Oh, because it's
I think there's a way to do it.
Okay, look at the photo behind me.
Yeah.
There is a ton of very subtle detail in all these areas up behind me that I don't care what you do digitally. They don't reproduce.
Mm-hmm.
Now you stand in front of that as a large print, and yes, it's there and it has a lot of impact, but it just doesn't reproduce online.
Well, that could be. That could be.
And there
The
are
other thing, Court, is like for all of us, you have to have products that are the small prices as well as the big prices. My work might be colorful, but recently I've been working with a lot of grays. And again, like you said, without some photo editing, how do I get that represented online? You just got to keep looking at it and working at it until you figure out something that is going to work.
I spent the whole pandemic working on it, and there are just there's some art that doesn't reproduce well online.
Okay. But you can still sell the story behind the work.
Yes, very much.
Which will take them to your site, which will get them one step closer to making a purchase.
Yeah, but in my case, and I've talked to other artists, especially artists that deal with subtleties in their work,
Mhm.
that it doesn't reproduce well online. And I've talked to a lot of artists that, you know, their artwork, depending upon what it is and how subtle it is, may or may not, you know, that definitely affects your online sales.
Oh yeah, I
Um,
mean, it's the difference between being, you know, doing a fair at night and not having quite enough light in your booth.
Yeah, yeah.
All those things are important. I get it, Court. I really do.
what I'm saying
But
is,
I do think that again, the interview about why you're doing the work and your passion behind it is probably going to be the hook that gets your customer to take a closer look.
Yeah,
And if you can put together a good presentation, even a short video about the story behind a piece, that'll grab their attention. And
right.
they'll look closer.
you're selling yourself. Like I'm selling myself in my booth. You get these when you take the square, they can make comments. And I have a whole list of comments thanking me for explaining the process, explaining how I'm doing it, the subtleties involved in the work, why these
Mhm.
colors are so good. They
So,
love hearing
Barry,
that. Yes.
those conversations are part of what we look for benchmark award winners, where you are stepping up to be engaged with your customers to tell those stories. It's really
Mhm.
important.
It is. I think so too. But there's an art to it. You can't attack them the first second they come in. But you
I know, you
know,
gotta reel them in.
you could. So I'm always like kind of listening to them, and I'm kind of going, when is the right time to interject myself?
Uh,
Sometimes it's too soon, and sometimes, well, actually, it's never too late. It's generally too soon, but still, uh,
I just ask if they have any questions, and that a lot of times opens things up.
yeah,
right,
yeah,
all right. There's always an opening line, a question about
yeah.
their interest or where they're from. They can start the conversation. For me, it's people that say, "Oh, you don't have my size," and so they run out of the booth. And I have to make sure to tell them, well, consider these pieces as samples. Most of the work I do is custom, and it's like,
Mhm.
oh, maybe you could make something for me.
Yeah, and that's special. Think about it. An artist making something for a person, like to wear or something. Like, hey, this is the only one of this, and they made it especially for me to fit. They're gonna feel good every time they wear it.
That's the idea. And I wish I could charge twice as much as what I do, because
Me too. Actually, I wish I could charge 3 times as much, but
I guess I should try it. I mean, I should just
I'm afraid to
quit
try
thinking
it.
thinking about what the market will bear and just say, this is the best that I can do. You're not
Oh,
going
you
to
and
buy
me
anything
both.
else like
Yeah,
it.
Karen, do you know Janie Harrington?
Janie Harrington.
She
No,
does
I don't think so.
hand-painted silk.
Okay.
And
We had at least 3 silk artists at this show. We had
Well,
23 fiber artists.
she's from Virginia. She's not going to go that far.
Right, right.
But she's talking about moving into wall art instead of wearables because you could charge much more for it.
Yeah.
Mhm.
And it's not dependent on the season.
I had a conversation with someone who was volunteering for our group who actually has a job with movie industry. And I didn't hesitate to mention that if they had a need for hand-woven cloth for costumes for movie sets, please think of me. You know, we all have to kind of figure out an I'll never be as good as Oscar as far as installing artwork or climbing up ladders as often as he does. But we have to find that other income stream so we can continue to do what we're doing. I'm 71 today, and 72 is coming up really soon.
Yeah, well, 74 is coming up for me, and I wish I could go back 10, even just 10 years.
Hey, I'm already there, Barry.
Hey, Karen, you
Mhm.
know, if you and Art and the Pearl switched weekends, you'd have a shorter drive to St. Louis.
Well, we don't really want to switch weekends. These are, you know, pretty well established times.
Oh,
You know what you guys need to figure out a show between High Desert and Sun Valley.
Well, that would be Park City.
No, Park City is the week before Sun Valley.
Okay.
So it's Park
Yeah.
City. If you're doing, if things was like a back in the old days, it will be Salem, Bam, Park City, Sun
There's a
Valley,
limit to how many
High
shows in a row
Desert.
you can do.
No, but I say that would be the scale, the shows that you will be looking at. If you can do 2 shows in a row, you can do. But when it comes to after Sun Valley, you know how you got a break.
Hey, you
So
know what?
you go to, yeah.
You know what the best lineup is, don't you? Old Town
The
Lakefront,
one that I'm
Old Town Lakefront, Des Moines, and then Cherry Creek.
yeah.
No,
Yeah,
I
they're-
got your beach in that. It's Old Town, Lakefront, Des Moines, Cherry Creek. But if you don't get Des Moines, you can do South Lake and then just drive 6 hours back to Denver.
But
So
they
I'm on
that's
the-
alternative.
they purposely schedule their shows to line up like that.
Yeah, they do. Yeah. I'm on the wait list for the Plaza show after St. Louis. And I think, honestly, I'm going to be so exhausted from 4 shows in a row. I'm not really sure I care either way if I get off the wait list, but we'll see. I'll probably be excited if I get on.
But you know the best part, Karen, you have to think about it. You're going to get off of the wait list and they're going to put you right next to the music stage.
That's what I hear. That's what I hear.
Yeah, that's my consolation for not ever getting into Kansas City. It's the only
Right.
one that won't let me in. And actually Brookside's the same way. So I get
Mm.
no love from Kansas City at all.
Okay,
Except-
Mr. Gray here is doing his happy dance
Hi, Mr. Gray.
because when I dropped out earlier, that was Sarah from St. Louis. So I got in off the wait list.
Hey,
Congratulations,
Oh,
Court.
they're really? They're doing that. Wait a minute.
Congratulations, Court.
Oh, that was it.
Yeah.
They called you?
She just, yeah, I'm really happy for you.
So Karen, thank you because somebody there had really good sales.
Yes, somebody did enough sales to say they couldn't come. Yep.
So
You better go get ready. It's coming right up.
yeah,
Yeah.
The other thing I did for Art in the High Desert, and I will also do for Art in the Pearl and St. Louis, because I am 71, almost 72, with 3-place joints, I use People Ready as labor to help me unload and set up and tear down. I really have to watch lifting. It's just getting harder. I used to be able to do it all, but it is a little harder.
Yeah,
It's
me
harder
too.
with the heat too, but I feel happy about using an agency like People Ready because they're employing people who need the work.
not convicts.
They might be, but they have to have a clean record. They've been screened. They get paid a decent wage with health care coverage and liability insurance that I don't have to take care of. It's my way of trying to do something to help those to give them a
Yeah.
hand up.
Yeah, Three
Yeah.
Rivers, they used to use convicts and the artists were told not to tip them, which was bullshit because they needed the money just like anybody else did.
Of course, yeah. These people aren't convicts, but they might have a record, but not all of them. Some of them are just, they're just trying, they have to have more than one job to get by.
Yeah, looking for work.
Yep. Yeah. And People Ready works in St. Louis. It works all across the country.
I just looked it up. It's in Pittsburgh too.
Yes,
Because I just
yeah.
on Facebook, somebody was saying that they were getting older and had a hard time setting up, and they weren't sure if they could do another show. And so I was trying to think of a good solution to that.
Well, I think it's way safer than Craigslist.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
honestly, Emily, I have worn out my family and friends as I've asked them to help me over the years.
I did that last weekend. But my niece and nephew.
Yeah. Yeah.
Damn court. Now I wanna call her. I wanna do the show.
Well, call her. What
Well,
do you
call
got
her.
to do?
No,
This
no,
is
well,
time.
here's the
Come on,
thing.
Barry.
The pieces I needed to look at, I have an order for a 30-piece order that I'm actually that I'm working on, and those would be pieces. Those are the lower end pieces. Those would be the pieces that I would take. I need some of those for St. Louis, so that's why I'm hesitant. If I hadn't gotten the order, I'd be right on it. But you know, so
Hey,
it's
you
a
got
dilemma.
a week. You got a week.
Yeah, takes me to, yeah, right. Oh, I can just, hey, I know, I'll call my agent in Asia and maybe they'll ship them
No.
over, you know.
You just need to get
Air
up an
freight.
hour earlier, drink a little more coffee, right? All right. Well,
I
look,
can only
do
do so much
I know.
these days.
I'm trying to get orders done that need to go in the mail tomorrow, so I probably need to go. But thanks, Larry, for asking me to show up, and thanks for your
Yeah, well,
question.
thanks for
Art in High
coming.
Desert.
It-
Yeah, I'm
it
sure
is
you're going
20
to hear
it's-
people. I'm sure you're going to hear people who will complain.
Every show.
And
Well, I'm going to tell you, if you don't want any of those complaints, I'm happy to come. You know,
Yeah, me too. Let them complain.
I will be.
we
You
have
know,
we have to be able to deal with disappointments with sales, with difficult weather. We all know this. This is hard what we do, but we are doing it well.
but you know the thing that what you're saying right now was what I was complaining about my experience in Port Clinton, and when I go to a show, I want to go there. If the show doesn't work out, it was because not that I did something wrong, no because the promoter did wrong. It was just not my market, and you
Mhm.
can say that flat out without blaming anybody. But if you start, and we all do it, and you start wondering why it's not working out, and because I work out in other places but not in this place, you start looking, are you doing something wrong or is something wrong with the show? And when you start pointing things wrong with the show, then
It's
you
easy to
kind
point
of,
fingers. Yeah. I mean,
yeah,
personally, next year when we do the booth layout, which by the way, there's an art to getting 140 spaces spaced correctly on the grass. That was kind of fun. But next year I would like to give us just a little more room between the booths and behind the booths. You know, the booth space in the back was kind of standard. It's about 2 feet for each of you, 4 feet behind. But I'd like to have a little more room between the booths. And that has a lot to do with airflow. We had a decent amount, but I'd like to have a little bit more. So we'll fine tune those things.
Air conditioning.
Well, you know, air quality was really the issue, Larry, when
And who knows what next year will bring.
and with the fires, I mean, when Nick and I drove home, because here's the other thing, as a board member, your spouse often gets roped into helping. When we drove home from Bend back down the mountain towards the coast, the smoke was so thick you had to put on your headlights, and we both put on an N95 mask in the vehicle.
Yeah.
It was just that bad. Yeah.
You know, I think in September already. It's
Yeah, a couple days.
yeah.
Well, anyway, I got to get ready. I got orders to fill, and Art the Pearl in St. Louis like tomorrow almost. It's
Have
hilarious
fun. And
about.
thank you, Karen.
Sure, it's hilarious
Yeah.
Good to
about
see you, Karen.
packing
Yeah,
up
thanks
for
for
the
the info.
shows. At the end of the show, I really wanted everything to go back into the van perfectly, so I didn't have to redo it. It never works out that way. It's always what I call an okie stack. You're just so eager to get off the site, you just
That's
throw
right.
everything in the van.
That's
So
right.
tomorrow, I got to take everything out and find all the small pieces and get them back in their tubs and get organized. It's like
I
a
think
big,
I actually, last time I loaded the van, I think I actually planned and actually got most of the stuff, most of it back where it belongs.
mm-hmm. Yeah, I was too hot. And when I start to short circuit when it's hot like that, even with help, but I just wanted to get home, so we did. Anyway, all right. Congratulations, Court. We'll see you
Thank you.
soon.
Good
Okay.
seeing you.
Bye,
Bye-bye.
everybody.
Yeah.
Bye.
Yeah, you know, it's 20 after 5.
Well, you gone somewhere?
No, I want to trim these pots that are behind me. I'm not going anywhere. Hey, listen, I have a parking pass. You know, I pay, well, I don't really pay, but they think I pay for our parking lot. And there was a ticket on my thing, a fine. So I had to go over and show them my pass, because apparently they had somebody new and they didn't know that my parking space is my parking space. So that was a little annoying today. And I needed heart blood thinner medication, so I went to Meyer to get it, but to get a refill, but the bottle was kind of smudged a little. So when I got home, this is a few days ago, they gave me generic Viagra, because the wording's similar. So which, okay. So I'll keep that. But then I also had to go over to Meyer and get the proper medicine.
Well,
It's
Viagra
funny.
was a heart medication originally.
Yeah, it's to stimulate blood.
Yeah, well, so I'll take them both, but it gives me
Question.
I have after effects I get a headache and everything, so it's hard to use. Okay, are we leaving now?
I
Look,
guess
No, wait, got a quick question for you and Larry.
Okay.
Who is Ang Asher Templar? And
Huh?
who is Anne Mohit?
What?
Who is the 4 people that getting places on the board for the guild in Michigan? So I know Bonnie and James already got my vote, but who's the other
I
2?
don't know. I don't know who those people
I don't
are
know.
anymore.
What's their names again?
It's spelled Anke, and then the last name is spelled EICHSTAEDT.
What are you trying to
Hyphen.
decide who to vote for?
Yeah, I'm already going to vote for Bonnie and James, but
So what's the
it's kind of
difference?
hard not to vote for your friends.
I mean, anybody that's willing to run for the board of the guild deserves it.
That's
Do you think so?
fantastic.
Hey, Oscar,
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah,
Oscar, ask Parker.
yeah.
Or Ed,
Art Parker.
Chris
Yeah,
Marr.
Parker will know.
I
Chris
think you
Marr
should
will-
put the 4 names up on a wall, blindfold yourself, and throw darts.
Right.
Well,
And the
it's
closest
4
one-
people. I already vote for 2. There's Bonnie and James. Everybody else, I don't know.
Hey,
So,
you're doing better than me. I don't even look at the emails.
oh, come on. Then you could need to go to the meeting also.
All right, folks.
Yeah,
have
I
to
went
run.
last year. I'm not going to the meeting.
Yeah, have a good show, Court.
Thanks.
Yeah.
Good luck, Gordon. Happy for you.
Yeah, me too.
Be good, guys.
All right.
Bye.
We're
Bye.
leaving. See you guys.
I guess everybody's leaving.
Yeah.
Well, see you next week.
All right. All right. Bye, Katie.